Hey guys, and welcome to episode 30 of Creators Campfire. Tonight I am joined by the wonderful Heather Ramirez. Heather, welcome and thank you.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here, excited to chat.
Very cool. I was just saying, and I'm going to put this out there again, I did this with Tom, and I'm going to do it again with you, Heather, because your background is awesome. This is goals right here. And actually, I've just noticed you've got a really cool, is that a little YouTube thing by the Rubik's Cube?
It's a VidCon sticker.
Nice. Okay, That's very cool. Okay, one day I'm going to have a cool streaming setup, guys. So we'll get there. Anyway, I'm rambling. Heather, for those that don't necessarily know much about you, can you just give a little bit of an overview of what it is you do and what you're about?
Sure. So I am a YouTube coach. That is my full-time thing, but I started documenting my journey in starting a business in 2016. I'd quit my job in marketing and I just was like, I think I'm going to try to start my own business. I had no idea how to do that. And it was the scariest thing that I had ever even thought about doing. And because of that, I was like, I really want to document this. It kind of just felt like something important, like worthy of saving. And so I started a YouTube channel, started vlogging my journey. And then that basically turned into me helping people share their stories on YouTube.
That is awesome. So again, I have a bunch of questions off this. So I'm going to try and do them in some kind of order. So when you are thinking about documenting this, obviously you're kind of doing it for yourself, but was there a thought about, I want this to help others, or I want to create something on YouTube? Or was it just, hey, this is a cool place for me to kind of document it?
It was a little bit of both. So to kind of paint the picture, back in 2016, I was kind of feeling like I was at the height of my career. Like I said, I had this like awesome marketing job. I had an awesome salary, benefits. I just bought a new Camaro, like my new car. And like, I was about to enter my 30s. So I felt like very adult and very like successful in terms of, here's all the things that you're supposed to achieve by the age of 30 or whatever. And I felt like I was checking off all the boxes, but I wasn't happy. Like it felt like there was kind of something missing. And one thing that I had always been passionate about was digital media, because I have been using digital media as part of, not just for fun, but also for my job, because I was in marketing since Facebook was first created. And at the job that I was at, I was working at a school, and all the adults were like telling the kids, get off your phones, the internet is dangerous and all of those things. And I was like, but yes, that's true. But also there's so many amazing, cool things that you can do with digital media if you learn how to use it, if you figure out, how you can kind of like connect beyond just sharing pretty photos on Instagram and stuff like that. And so, I knew that I wanted to share the journey, because I felt like by sharing my story, I was promoting digital literacy. I was promoting like, here's a way that you can meaningfully connect with people that like you don't even know. Why would you want to do that? I'm not sure, but I knew that I was being positively impacted by the channels that I was watching. And if I could kind of create that same feeling for people who resonate with my story in some way, I wanted to do that, and also YouTube was kind of like the place where I felt like I could be myself, because even though it's funny looking back, it's like, oh wow, you quit your job to like do this thing and start your own business. But it was something, not only was I terrified to do, but it was something that I was like being discouraged to do. So my parents and my family were so against it, to the point where, we didn't talk for almost a year, because they were so against me not just getting a stable job and, pursuing my career and stuff like that. They're like, what you're going to do this YouTube thing, and that's supposed to be your job. And, so like, instead of talking to, like, I didn't know anyone else who was doing this. And YouTube was that world where I didn't personally know Casey Neistat. I didn't personally know Gary Vee, but they were doing it every day, and it was so normal to them. And it made me feel like the thing that I was passionate about was cool. It made me feel like, okay, there is a world where this is the right thing to do. And even though like in my physical space. It's strange, like it thrives here. And so I just kind of wanted to be a part of that. So like, it's easy to say that, but when I was first starting, I don't think I thought about this like as consciously as I'm telling you now. It was just kind of like, I have this pull, like this itch to do this, and I'm just gonna try and see where it goes. So long answer to your question.
no, that's cool. That's really interesting actually, because I guess a lot of the things that stop people now is they overthink it, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, what do we do? How do we do it? And then all of a sudden they've talked themselves out of it. Whereas actually you almost did the opposite. You were like, I'm just going full steam ahead so I don't have to think about it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny how that happened. And I think that's like what kind of kicked my butt into being a YouTube coach, because it's like I saw people who had a specific passion or this like thing that they're really good at or they're totally obsessed with. And I'm like, I have a YouTube channel and I have no idea what I'm doing. How do you not have a YouTube channel? Because everything else is like figure outable. You can totally figure out gear. You can totally figure out YouTube SEO and all of that. But like, it's the passion, it's the story that is hard to come by sometimes, So, so that's what like kind of led me into doing what I do now.
That's very cool. So I guess, did you have much of a plan then? Was it just, okay, because obviously you were like doing vlogs, right? So you were vlogging the journey. What was the thought process behind that? Was that like, oh, this might be easier, or is that's just, this is what I'm going to do and I'm going to see where it goes?
It was purely that. Like I literally had no strategy. Like, so I started 2 channels, right? And you've seen the other ones. I have the tutorial channel where it started out very broad in terms of like, one of my first videos is like, what's a hashtag? Because it was a question I was getting a lot and still actually get pretty often, is like, what is this hashtag thing that I keep seeing? So I tried for that channel, I tried to be strategic. I tried to really make it a resource that people can turn to for any questions they had digital media related. But even that it was like so broad, right? It was just like anything digital media. For my vlog though, I think I purposely wanted it to just be an exploratory, like, just like I wouldn't strategize with a journal or a blog, like a personal blog. I didn't want to strategize with this because I really wanted it to be just like, the only strategy I had was to keep it as real as possible. So, the fear, the frustration, the things that I was like thinking about or worried about or trying to work through, like I wanted to make sure to capture that, because I just knew like looking back on that would motivate me in the future. It's like, okay, you're going to get through this. I never doubted that. It's like, I knew I was going to get through this. And I just wanted to kind of show myself progress. So that's pretty much it. But in terms of like, am I going to do this daily? Am I going to, because I didn't know where I was going to be. Like, I didn't know what next week was going to look like or next month or anything. So I was just kind of documenting as I was going.
Yeah. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. So did you actually start both channels at the same time?
Honestly, I can't remember.
Okay.
I want to say yes. And I wouldn't recommend that now because having 2 channels is a pain. But yeah, I think that's what I did.
Okay, that's cool. So that was going to be my follow-up question. So let's assume that you did start them at the same time, and you've kind of got, they're 2 distinct channels, right? So one is tutorials, but one is, okay, I'm going to keep this fun and free. Did you have any particular goals or thoughts about either of them? Obviously, the vlog one was a bit more like a creative outlet. Was the other one a bit more strategized?
Yeah, so that one was strategized. That one I really wanted, like I said, to be a resource, just because people that I knew in real life were coming to me for help when it came to digital media. Like, how do I use Facebook? And because I was in marketing, a lot of it was like very focused in small business, nonprofit marketing. So it's like, how do I get more people to know about what my nonprofit is supporting? Or like, how do I, make more sales through Instagram? Like, there was those same questions. And of course I was working at a school. So I had kids that were asking me like, how do I make a LinkedIn profile for college? you know, like what should I be putting on this stuff or on my profile and stuff. So I wanted to, if someone was asking me a question in person, that means there wasn't a resource that they can turn to online. And I wanted to create that resource. So for that, I was so, oh my gosh, like hours in Canva trying to get the graphics right and the branding and like, you know, so I spent way too much time on that. I really should have just, you know, it doesn't matter what it looks like, just get the info out there. But that I tried to be very strategic with. What I didn't know was going to happen was that my vlog channel would pick up much faster than the resource channel. And, you know, the resource channel, that's the thing that I wanted to pick up because that's the thing that I was kind of banking on to make money off of, right? Like that's what I wanted to turn into my business. But there was just so much I didn't understand. Like I didn't know anything about like what an increase in traffic meant or SEO or, you know, how I can monetize an audience. It was just kind of like I was figuring it out as I went. So yeah, that it was very scary looking back. Like I can't believe it because I doubled down on like the resource channel, and then because my vlog channel started picking up, I was like, okay, well, like, doesn't it logistically make sense to go where the traffic is, right? So I kind of put the tutorial channel on hold, but then now I was like, it started to get all complicated because now I was trying to be strategic with this thing that was supposed to purely be like a creative outlet, and now, you know, I mean. These are all things that we hear about all the time, but I definitely had creative burnout. I definitely felt like, I lost a part of that authenticity because I was trying to chase the numbers because I was like, I have to turn this into a full-time thing. So it was hard. There's definitely like ups and downs, and I'm really happy with where it is now. But yeah, it was just kind of crazy to figure out.
Yeah. How much did that kind of looking at those analytics and seeing those numbers and seeing that kind of shift towards the non-business channel affect your decisions? And what did that mean did that change the way you vlogged or the way you kind of perceived it and approached your videos?
Yeah, it was, I mean, it's such a funny thing, like thinking back about it, because it was almost like a pendulum. Like there were times where I was like, okay, I'm not even gonna look at the numbers. Like it doesn't matter. I want this to be, I want to feel the same thing I felt for it when I first started and there was no one watching, right? It was just like, I didn't care about the numbers because there were no numbers. And it was purely just like, I would watch my videos back and be like, wow, look at that cool thing I made. And it was just that sense of fulfillment for myself, right? But then of course, like, I don't know, a sponsor would approach me or my mentors would be like, you know, you can really, you know, you can monetize that audience, or like other people who kind of wished for the traction that I was getting were starting to give me a lot of advice. It was a lot of like, you should do this, you should do this, you should do this. And because I didn't know, I was like, yeah, I should. And so that kind of like, you know, it was hard to balance, like, what should I do? Like, who's telling me, like, what's the right answer? You know, it's like, there is a lot of like business people who were kind of mentoring me and telling me like, hey, you know, this is how it should be done. But also there was this pull inside of me that was like, I don't think that's the way that I want to do it. And the person who's really balanced this perfectly is Tom, because he never like compromised his integrity in terms of like, you know, it's like all the sponsors or all the people that he works with are in line with the values of his channel. And like, I wish someone had told me that, you know, like, yes, like this is money, but that doesn't mean that you have to go for it, kind of thing. So yeah, I forgot what the question was, but
that's okay. I was just trying to understand how growth in your vlogging channel kind of altered how you looked at things. So you definitely answered the question.
Yeah,
Tom,
so
you should have been there.
Definitely, like, you know, like I'll be the first to admit there's probably videos that I made that I wasn't really that passionate about, but because I knew that they would rank, I knew that there was going to be traffic there. Like I made them anyway, and I never regret a video. I definitely, you know, there's something to learn, and I'm proud of every single video I've created. But in terms of like, is that an idea I would have come up with organically? No, you know, it's like I knew I was being strategic with some of those videos. So yeah, that definitely played a part in it. for better or for worse, I don't know. Like, I'm really happy with, the channel at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay, that's super cool. So you've hit 10K on one of your
Yeah.
channels, right? Yes, awesome. So firstly, congratulations on that.
Thanks.
How does it feel, and does it feel any different to A, hit 10K, and B, when you hit the other milestone? So like your first 100 or your first 1,000 or your first 5,000. What does that kind of feel like?
It doesn't feel as different as I thought it would. Like there's really no difference between like 500 and 10,000. There was a difference though early on. I would say when I hit maybe 3,000 or 4,000, that was when I could kind of tell myself like, okay, it doesn't matter what you think about your channel, whether you think your videos are good or not, whether, your brand, it doesn't matter what I think about my own thing. There are 3,000, 4,000 people who've subscribed to this, and definitely like throughout this whole entire journey, and we said it before we started the call, I am my own worst enemy. You're going to be your own worst enemy. And like 100%, it's just like, I constantly doubt myself, and hitting that milestone of like 3,000, 4,000 kind of just felt like, okay, I can't argue with that. Like, people have signed up, they're opting in, they want to see more content, and it doesn't matter. Like, I don't have to strategize in terms of like, what's going to be the best video for these 3,000 people, because I knew I didn't strategize getting to this point in terms of like, what I have to make sure I'm making like the best videos or anything. Like, of course I want to create the best that I can, but if I always fall back on whether I'm having fun, that's like the North Star in terms of like what kind of content I should create. But other than that, it doesn't feel like any different. It's cool, but it's not like, it wasn't as like impactful as the 3,000, 4,000 mark.
Yeah. Okay. That's cool. A few people have said that. I was listening to one of Ali Abdal's things, and he's just hit 1 million. He was like,
that's crazy.
Right, it's nuts. You can't even picture that many people. It's like, what does that even look like? Yeah. But he was like, something. He said something really similar. It was about the 5,000K mark or something. Sorry, 5,000 mark. And he was like, that felt great. And since then, everything else has just felt the same.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's super interesting.
Okay. And living with someone who is about to cross the 50K mark. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm curious what he would say, but there's no like difference in like the process or the approach to it. It's like, I think it's important to recognize the milestone, but in terms of like how it changes things, not really.
Yeah. Keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. The gear question. I don't think I can have one of these without asking the gear question. So what did you use when you started, and how has that evolved to what you're using now?
This camera right here. That's the camera I started with. That's the Canon S110. It's a point and shoot that was literally like buried in a closet somewhere. And I was like, I need a camera. I didn't have like, funding or anything. It was just kind of like what I'd like 6 months of savings when I'd quit my job. So I wanted, in terms of money, I was definitely being strategic. And I was like, okay, I'm going to use what I got before I buy anything else, because I have no idea what I'm doing. So I kind of just wanted to get a taste before I, started investing in equipment. I love this Canon S110. Like I ended up getting a second one. I think Tom even got me another one. He's gotten me a lot of cameras. Now what I use is the Sony ZV-1 for vlogs, which is over there somewhere. And then the Canon M50 is what I'm using now. But for me, I don't have as much of I straight up don't have a passion for like, I don't even know what they're called, the f-stops and the apertures and like the numbers of the cameras. Like, I've tried so hard to understand this, but like for some reason I can never wrap my head around it. So I'm definitely just like auto everything, which is why I loved the Canon S110 so much, because it was just auto everything. There wasn't even a flip out screen. So it was like, I couldn't even see what I was recording, but I didn't want to get caught up in, does it look okay? It was more of like, am I capturing what's happening in the moment? Because to me, that's the most important thing. So yeah, that's the gear.
Yeah, no, that's cool, because I think it stops a lot of people. It's definitely in my mind, and it is one of those questions that people are like, no, I need the right gear, otherwise I can't start.
Yeah.
But like,
no.
and it's like, it's one of those things, right? The best camera is the one you've got on you, right? If you can't, you just record it and put it out there, and yeah. Okay, that's cool. So going into YouTube, obviously there's a whole load of stuff to learn and think about. What was one of maybe the surprising things, or the one thing you didn't consider that you kind of had to do, and you're like, oh, I've got to do this. Didn't think about this.
Let's see. That's a good question. The thing that I probably dread the most out of the process is the thumbnail creation, because it's, you know, really it's all about the thumbnail. You can have the best video in the world, but if your thumbnail isn't compelling enough, then no one's going to click on your video to watch it in the first place. So like, I understand why the thumbnail is so important, because even when I'm using YouTube as a viewer, like obviously I'm looking at the thumbnails. I wish it wasn't as important, but totally, like, you know, I understand its importance. And I think that's something that people don't think about. It's like you said, like people think about, okay, what gear do I need? And like, how do I make a better video where, like, you know, if people aren't clicking on your video in the first place, it doesn't really matter. The other thing is responding to comments was a thing that I, you know, my approach to it has evolved over the years. So before I was like very particular about, I had to respond to everything, like even if it was typing out like, thank you for watching the video. I really just wanted to acknowledge every single comment. And like, the thing is, sometimes I would get a negative comment and I would, like, I'm human, it would send me reeling, you know, and it would really like be discouraging. So then I was like, okay, I'm not going to look at comments, because I don't want like comments to have an impact on like my creativity. You know what I mean? And so now I think I've done a pretty good job of like, okay, I think there's an etiquette of like, people don't necessarily expect a response. If you get it, it's delightful. It makes people feel like acknowledged. But if someone is not like contributing to a conversation, it's just like nice video or whatever, I don't have to like feel the pressure of, oh my God, I have to respond to this person.
Yeah.
And like, I've also, you know, learned how to navigate getting negative comments. I just like delete them now, because I feel like, you know, this is my space. I don't need your negativity here. But yeah, so that's like something I didn't even like think about when I first started, because you know, you're excited to get the comments, right? Like that's the whole point, is that we want to connect with people. And then, you know, it's like, I don't know, it's just tricky when you start to get a lot of comments and then you're realizing, wow, people have a lot of opinions about, especially for me, because it's like my life, you know, it's not like, you know, on my vlog channel, this is my, like, how I'm personally going through things, like dealing with anxiety, juggling decisions, and like, you know, people are, because I put it out there, people are able to, you know, share their opinions about how I chose to do something. So just kind of like navigating that was just something I didn't expect to do.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point, actually. I have to agree on the thumbnails, because so when again, my one video, but there's totally something I didn't think about. So it was like, okay, I need to film a video. So to me, it was like filming the video is the most important thing. The more I think about it, the more I look at things, it's like almost the least important bit. It's like, there's so many other factors that go into it that, at least me, I had no idea about. So like thumbnails, titles, tags, like how you promote it, the editing, like the lighting setup, just like a whole range of things. And yes, to go back, comments, promoting it.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh man, yeah. Filming actually not so bad.
Right.
I will take that. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it ends up being like the process that, I mean, thankfully, right? Because I think if you want to get into YouTube, obviously you have to like making videos, because that's what you're going to do for the foreseeable future. And if anything, if your channel grows, you're just going to keep making more and more videos. So I think, like, you know, what I try to do as a YouTube coach, like when people ask me, how do I manage all of this and stuff like that? I think the thing that is the most important thing is your mindset and how you feel about the content that you're creating, because it's really like, it doesn't matter the gear, the thumbnail, all the strategy. Like if you're not excited about what you're creating, then you will stop. Then you will find an excuse to not keep going. If you are excited about what you're creating, if you're having fun doing it, what's fun will get done, right? And you will find a way to make a good thumbnail. You'll find a way to fit it into your schedule or block out the time. So, I always try to remind people, like, the world of doing YouTube can seem complicated, but if you're really passionate about your content, like, let that be kind of the thing that you focus on, and everything else you'll kind of learn, and you'll develop a process where it will get maybe not easier, but more simple, more straightforward.
I really like that. What's fun will get done.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. Okay, that leads me into my next question. So I guess a lot of people doing it do really enjoy what they do. That's why they do it. But everyone has their off days. So how do you kind of deal with, those times when you really can't be bothered, but I know you don't ever have to, but you want to keep that content schedule up, and you kind of just aren't feeling it, but you still need to put content out there, and maybe you're not seeing growth or whatever, and that's getting to you. How do you deal with those kind of situations?
So what I did, actually I did this in Notion. So like, I think a couple months ago, I started, I discovered Notion, and I discovered like how to create this system to like help me through life and business. And one of the things I have in there is actually a troubleshooting thing for me as a creator. So like, just like there's troubleshooting for, software or hardware or whatever, I was like, okay, I'm going to create a troubleshooting protocol so that when I'm feeling unmotivated, or I'm feeling tired or low energy, or, whatever, insert like, obstacle here, I can't like trust myself to make decisions in that moment, because there's something like blocking me. So I wanted to create instead a troubleshooting list where I just go through like, okay, if you're feeling unmotivated, do this or this or this or this, try this, if you're feeling low energy, try this, try this, try this. So that way I don't have to think like, because what I've found is like, when I'm unmotivated or I'm feeling low, I can really like, there's a lot of temptation to start spiraling into like, okay, I'm not gonna do anything today, and like I just don't feel like it, or what have you. But instead I was like, okay, I need like the instruction manual to tell me how to get over this. So that's what I did. Like I created like, okay, if I'm feeling unmotivated, actually I have it right here. I made a physical book. I write in here when I'm feeling super motivated. So when I'm not motivated, I open it up and I just read it. And it's stuff that's like very personal. It's stuff that's like, I'm writing to myself, and I know that I am, and I know I'm writing to myself when I'm feeling low. So when I'm feeling low and I read through this, it's like exactly what I need to hear. And I found like, these are the things that I kind of have to do, because I don't want to waste time. There's also, like, I understand being aware in terms of, okay, if I'm just not feeling it and I'm feeling, tired and unmotivated, and I need to just take a break, like I know, I recognize that also. But sometimes it's just a matter of like, I need a new perspective. I need inspiration. I need a pep talk from myself. I need to remind myself that I'm capable. I need to kind of remember my why, so that's kind of what I created in my little like troubleshooting list, where I just like go, okay, if you're feeling this, or, you are having trouble coming up with ideas. One of my favorite things is, if you don't know what to post today, here's a whole idea bank. Here are the list of people that inspire me, stuff like that.
That is absolutely amazing. That is like the best thing I've heard. I absolutely need one of those.
Yeah. And it's like, I totally recommend everyone do it, because it's totally, it's like customized to you, right? So like, my list won't work for anybody else, but that's why I made sure to build this. I was like, so I don't even know who I saw do this in Notion, but I was going down the rabbit hole on YouTube. and I saw someone else do this and I was like, oh my God, I need to make that for me, because I just found so much time wasted when I was feeling unmotivated, because I was like, I don't know what to do. Like, I'm not really sure how I'm feeling. Like, should I read a book? Should I watch YouTube videos? Should I make a YouTube video? You know, so just cut all of that and now just go through the protocol. And it's like simplified the whole process.
I love that. I absolutely need this, because 99% of my life sounds just like that. And then I get really mad at myself when I've wasted the day. It's like you could have literally done anything and it would have been productive. Like pick any one of those 50 things and it would have been better than nothing.
Yeah. And I know I'm going to feel that again, you know, like it's not something that I'm never going to not be anxious, you know? So that's why I just want to be prepared, kind of thing.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Amazing. That leads me into my favorite workflow / process question. Because I'm a super nerd, and obviously we've mentioned Notion, so I can't not talk about it. So what did the kind of workflow look like in terms of like, even from idea generation all the way to, you know, clicking the upload button?
Yeah, so I use everything in Notion now. I used to just do old school pen and paper. I have actually my notebook right here, but what I would do before is I would put in this notebook, right? It's all the way over there, but pretend it's a notebook. I would write down every single idea on one page. And then that way I could just scratch pad however I see that video coming to life. If I wanted to take it a step further, that's when I would, you know, put it into the computer, start doing research, start doing a script, start doing an outline. Now all of this is in Notion. So I just have like a scratch pad of vlog ideas, tutorial ideas, social media ideas. And it starts with, you know, definitely just the ideas, no scripting, no writing or anything like that. And then once I have all the ideas out, I take it to the next level of like, okay, how, you know, what's the theme of this? How am I going to script it out? How can I, like, is it best as a video? Is it best as a, Instagram description with a photo or something like that. And then obviously into production, into post-production, and all of that is just like, I have a board in Notion where it just goes through all the phases. Yeah, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about.
I could listen to Notion talk all day. Carry on.
yeah, exactly. And then there's a calendar of, you know, how, like a production schedule and stuff like that. But everything is in Notion. It's the only thing that I've found to not only be like the place to collect ideas, the place to schedule stuff in my calendar, the place to see all the projects I'm working on at once. It's like the best thing. So yeah, we can rave about Notion all day.
yes, we can. This could turn into a Notion talk. Absolutely love the thing. And you're right, it's just brilliant. And it's great at those workflow processes. So when you like just drag them over and creating templates and stuff. Awesome.
Definitely.
Okay, so going back to kind of when you want to draft like the story or to kind of flesh out the idea, do you have any like approaches or structures that you kind of think, you know, if it's this, then these are good things to do that maybe other people could also use as a thought process rather than here's just a tick box?
Yeah. So I'm just pulling up my templates right now in Notion actually, because I think this is easier. So I have a template for my vlogs, my tutorials, my newsletters, and social media posts. And in each template, I have kind of like things that I want to include. So for my tutorial template, I have a hook. Why should the viewer care? Content. So, you know, the step-by-step process, a call to action, call for comments, asking questions, being interactive, referring to another video, and then the end screen. So these are, I guess it is kind of just like a list of things to tick off. But if I don't have it in front of me, I will 100% forget to include it in the thing. And that's the same for the vlog. So it's like, you know, what is the purpose of the video? What do I want the viewer to take away from this video? How can I be more interactive? What's something different that I'm showing them that they can't see from watching someone else's video? Or same with Instagram or social media posts. It's like, okay, it's a totally different medium because they're reading, right? They're reading like the description. So how can I write it where I know that it's the first line is the equivalent of the thumbnail, right? Like they're going to either click to read more or not. So how can I create something that's going to get them to show them that this is something that they will want to read or engage with? So I just make sure I have like these things based on the piece of content that I'm creating.
Okay, that's very cool. I made my first checklist today. Again,
not
actually filmed anything, but yeah, I made a little checklist. I was exactly the same thing. I was like, if I don't write it down and know what I need to go through in this process, I'm never going to do it. And I'm going to get to the end and go, oh, I was supposed to do that. And all of a sudden, if it was a 2-hour process, it's like now 5 hours.
Yeah, exactly. And so like my whole thing is you don't want to spend time thinking about those things. You want to spend that energy on like the creative part, right? Like how can you better tell this story? How can you better teach this thing or explore that topic and save all your brain power for that rather than like, oh, what was it that I was supposed to do next? Like, like what's the tagline I'm supposed to include here? Like, I don't think that, see, that's why it's important to like, develop a process so that once you have a process ironed out, it's just a matter of like you can trust your process to make sure that you will cover all the bases that you need to cover.
Yes. Yeah. Love a process, and no better place to do it than Notion. Not sponsored, wish it was, but if anyone's listening, go and get it. And Notion, if you ever hear this, feel free to sponsor us. That's funny. Okay, cool. Last question on kind of like the workflow. In terms of like the content calendar, how do you like plan that? Is it just I need to do one a week of these things, one every 2 weeks, and then how does that link with social as well?
So for me, I actually don't. Honestly, I think the pandemic has like changed how I feel about schedules. So I think it is important to be consistent, but I also feel like for me, it's hard to be consistent, and that it's not like I'm lazy or, I'm unmotivated or whatever. It's just something I've always struggled with. And what I found is that when I'm not consistent and I still like, whenever I create content and I'm not being consistent, that doesn't devalue the content that I created. You know what I mean? So I really like this idea of like, I don't have to put the pressure on myself to make sure that I'm creating content on the same day of same time or something like that. It's more of just like, is this content ready to go out? Do I feel good about it? And if I do, then I could just put it out. And obviously I'm married to someone who has a completely different approach. But I kind of like that about us. It's like, it's, I think like it can go either way, Yeah. So that's how I feel about it. I don't have a schedule. It's kind of just like when it's done, then I put it out.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I think because a lot of people do say, you need to post consistently on the same day every week. And it's nice to hear that actually you don't. So choose what works for you. If I'm probably someone who probably does need to pick a day because I'm a little more structured, but also it's not the only way to do it, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I was like, I think I saw this from the creators that I watch. Like a lot of them don't have content schedules, and I still watch their videos. I still interact with their posts. Yeah. And so I was like, why stress about this thing? Like, why try to make this thing work? Like, yes, it works for other people, but it's clearly not working for me. Yeah. And so, what can I do that works for me, kind of thing.
Yeah. Plus, I'm never going to think, oh, it's Friday, so-and-so is releasing a video today. I'll just be on YouTube and it'll be like, oh, here's a new video. Yeah, I'm not going to be like, you didn't post on Friday. So, yeah. Right. Yeah. Right. Okay, cool. Okay, so some beginner questions. Yeah. I know we've covered a lot of stuff, but somebody starting YouTube now, let's assume that they have decided to start YouTube. So they've got over their fears. What are some of the kind of most important, maybe like 2 or 3 things that they need to consider or do after they've, create their channel?
So my favorite thing about when I started YouTube was it was kind of the first time in my life that I felt like how do I explain this? Like it was the first time where I felt like I I created something of my own. And I know that's obvious. Like, obviously that's what we're doing, but you know, my whole life, it's like I had been doing what other people were telling me to do. And the things that I was actually really into, no one else was into it, you know? So I kind of just felt like I was just going with the flow. And when I started YouTube, when I did YouTube, even the videos, like the first video I made literally has 45 seconds of silence because I was terrified of violating copyright. So I didn't put music on it. It's just 45 seconds of a time lapse in total silence. So it's not like I was making like amazing videos, but it was kind of the first time where I felt like even in my ordinary life, I could create something that I felt like was worth sharing. And to me, like when you're first starting, it's such a magical moment. And I feel like it often gets tainted with the pressure of like, how do I get views? How do I like build a perfect brand from the get-go? You know, what kind of equipment do I need? I need to know how to optimize videos. I have to know like, you know, what's ranking, like what tags am I going to rank for and all of that. And you know, as I mentioned before, you will learn all of that, but relish and embrace the feeling of like, you have a story worth sharing. And to figure that out and to be empowered and to, you know, like even with your like Creators Campfire podcast, like this is such a cool thing that would not exist had you not decided to take a chance and just do it. You know, and like look at all the people that you've talked to now, all the people that are watching, like what an amazing thing that is having such a ripple effect on YouTube, right? Like with random people that you're probably never going to meet in real life, but you can still have that kind of meaningful impact. I think like when people are first starting, it's like, you know, they go on YouTube. It's like, how do I start a YouTube channel? And it's just a flood of like 10x your channel and, you know, grow and growth and just all of these numbers thing. And, you know, I've had people tell me, I don't care about the numbers. I'm still figuring out like how to even talk on camera, you know? And I guess like the first thing would be to try to get comfortable with whatever your style is going to be. It doesn't mean that the way that like someone else does it, the way that I do it is the way that you're going to do it. Like maybe you don't even show your face, maybe, you know, you are using super fancy equipment because that's what you're into, or, you know, whatever it is. I think it takes time to figure out your style. So what I would recommend is just make as many videos as you can, especially putting some kind of pressure. So like what I recommend people do is a 10-day tackle where they make a video every day for 10 days straight, because that's like you get out of I need to make the perfect video, and it's more of like I have to make a video today, and that's the challenge. Like you have work, you have family, you have errands to do, but in the midst of the chaos, what can you create out of that? And that's the magical part, because like whenever I put that challenge on myself, I learned a new technique. I learned a new like thing to implement in my videos moving forward that I just would not have even thought about. But because it was like, I have to get this video done in an hour, I learned to put the camera over here versus over here. Or I learned how to use this light versus that light. Or, you know, I was like, okay, I need a tripod because of, you know, whatever. So it's like, you know, have fun making videos, try to find your style. And the best way, like, how do you do that? How do I find my style? Make as many videos as you can. And you don't even have to share it. Like, you don't even have to put it on YouTube, but understand that a YouTube video is a medium. It gets complicated because it's also a distribution platform. And we want people to watch our videos, right? There is that audience that is there, but it's also a medium. So just like you learn how to read and write, and like you write a bunch of essays to get better at writing, you want to make a bunch of videos to get better at how you're going to communicate through this medium.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. Like, because I try, I'm terrible on camera, right? And I refuse. And I think I said this.
I totally don't believe that.
Yeah, no, I like, literally 6 months ago, I wouldn't even webcam like in a meeting at work. I was just like, I'm not putting the camera on. I've got sticky over my webcam still, and I still don't turn it on. But at the beginning of the year, I was talking to someone, and they were like, you need to start Instagram. And I was like, okay. And they were like, get a video up there. And I was like, don't think so. And they were like, just film it. And I was like, nope. And they were just like, if you don't like it, don't post it. I was like, okay, fine. I can do this, right? I'm talking to myself. And I did it, and it was 30 seconds. And as awkward as I felt, I kind of watched it back and I was like, okay, it's not horrific. Like it's not the worst thing in the world.
Yeah.
And I posted it, right? And I'd say that was the beginning of this, very long journey. So like if in doubt, just don't post it.
I think like it's natural for most people to not, like who's gonna like watching themselves or like hearing themselves. I think that's like, it's gonna be normal for every person to be a little uncomfortable with just staring at yourself. But it is like taking the training wheels off of a bike. It's like, I think most people go through the same creative discovery with the more videos that they create. And so yeah, I just think it's a really important, like, before you do anything with YouTube growth or anything, like, make videos that you are excited about, because once you're excited about making the videos, like, the rest is just going to fall into place. Like, you will figure out what you need to figure out. You'll do the research, but like, nothing is going to compare to you making your videos about your story for your channel, about your message, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. Actually, that I have a question off that. So a lot of people have a bit of a blocker because they're saying, well, everybody else is doing it, right? So why would I do something like, for example, like, why would I start a tech channel? There are billions of tech channels, right? Like, what would you kind of say to them? Because clearly that's not the answer. You should go for it, but why should they go for it?
So I'm laughing because I also suffer from this, even though, like, this is what I coach people up. I coach people through this, but this is how I see it. The number one thing that's going to hold you back from anything on YouTube is not someone else's content. It's not like, the competitors in your genre. It's not even like good equipment. It's just you and your mindset. You are the person who's going to get yourself to quit. And so I think it's always an ongoing process of kind of, redirecting your self-talk, so that instead of putting limiting beliefs on yourself, you put liberating beliefs, right? So feeling like, okay, I'm boring, right? Well, flip it and be like, if this moment is boring, where is the non-boring part? Like, how do I make an exciting thing out of this mundane moment, right? That's the challenge. It's going to be hard for everybody, and it's not necessarily something like, oh, it comes so easy for them because they're interesting. No, they've had to do the same, like, how do I find the interesting? What do I think is worth sharing out of this, ordinary? You find the ordinary, you find the extraordinary in the ordinary. So if you're constantly telling yourself, like, I'm never going to be good enough, or that person is doing it better than me, it's literally just you putting limits on yourself. And I promise you, every single time, someone is going to be able to find evidence to the contrary. Every single time. Like, I promise you, I will find someone whose content seems super boring, or I'll find someone who has, worse camera skills or less experience or is younger, or, whatever the opposite of whatever you're struggling with. Like, you can always find that on YouTube, because YouTube is so big now that pretty much like every kind of person has made a channel or kind of content. And that's not what YouTube is about. And we know that people discover new channels every day. Like, I'm sure Tom talked about this, but to even think about getting into the camera genre that was so, felt so saturated, it felt like all the established people were established. Like, how the heck are you going to break through? He hit 10,000 subscribers this January and is like, quickly approaching 50,000 in a year. Right. And totally, it's that same thing. Like, he could have said, why me? Like, people have been doing this for years. And it's just a matter of flipping your, belief from limiting to liberating. Because if you think of it in terms of like, not a place of scarcity, but abundance, right? Like, you're going to be more open to opportunity. You're going to be more creative. You're going to be more excited to create content if you think of it that way, versus like, oh, I'm not going to make it as good as them. Well, like, you're not even trying to be them. Yeah. You're trying to be you. Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And I was just about to say such wise words. This is great. This is so awesome to listen to. Because the other thing is mindset is such a big aspect of it. And I think it's overlooked. Because it's like, oh yeah, I need these skills, but actually there's a load of soft skills and mindset things that you need to overcome that is going to keep your channel going and keep it sustainable and get you through the tough times, right?
Yeah, totally. And I think people, it's just such a weird thing to realize because, you know, it's like, of course, I didn't think about mindset when I was starting a YouTube channel. I didn't even think that, you know, why would you think that that's like a big deal? But if you think about all the great creators in history, like they've all struggled with this, regardless of whatever medium, you know, architecture to painting to, you know, whatever they're creating, writer's block is a thing that exists. You know, it is something that regardless of your medium or creative endeavor, you are going to feel this like blockage, right? And it is just a matter of like, okay, there are things that you can do that are kind of tried and true. So thinking of it like, you know, flipping your fear or thinking of, okay, if you're recognizing a limiting belief, how can you turn that into a liberating belief? Like that's really something that regardless of your journey can be a tool that you can apply to any story, right? I'll give you a quick example. So one of the things that I was struggling with when I was like, I think I still had like less than 2,000 subscribers. I was still so embarrassed about my channel. I was still so embarrassed, like in terms of the people that I knew, I was still embarrassed of like what I was doing. Everyone around me was like getting promoted, buying houses, getting married. And I was just like here with a camera. And I just felt really like dumb, to be honest. And my cousin was getting married. And I was like so terrified of like the questions that I knew I was going to get of like, okay, Heather, how are things going? What's this thing that I keep seeing on Facebook that you're doing? What is this YouTube thing? Like, how is this turning to money? I was just like, I didn't want to go because I didn't want to have to face that. And luckily I had an awesome mentor at the time. And it was the same thing of recognizing the limiting to the liberating and having this like mental tool that you can have in your toolkit where he was like, instead of feeling really small and feeling like, you know, feeling like you have to defend yourself, go in big. I was like, what the heck do you mean? So he was like, get your biggest tripod, get your biggest camera, put on every single freaking accessory on that thing and make the biggest rig that you can and just show up and go. And I wanted to like not bring anything. I didn't want to bring a camera. I wanted to like hide in the corner and try to be invisible. He was like, no, show up and own it. Go. Like, I promise you, when you do that, everyone's going to look at you in awe instead of being really like, you know, like as if it were an interrogation, you know, like they're going to be like, wow, what's this thing that you're doing? Like, where does this go? And blah, blah. And lo and behold, literally the first place that I went to was like the church where we were doing the rehearsal. And I brought in my camera rig and I was just like vlogging like in the church and everyone was like, whoa, what is this thing that you're doing? Like, oh, you make videos now and like how many subscribers do you have? Wow, 2,000. That's so cool. And like, it was like nothing I was afraid of happened. And of course it was like the total opposite of that. Everyone was just like, oh my God, this is so cool. Like, you know, your little cousin wants to start a YouTube channel too now, or like we were thinking about starting a YouTube channel at work and blah, blah, blah. And like, it was just totally opposite. So long story long, like there are like books and tried and true ways that you can kind of realign your mindset, regardless of the channel that you're creating or the creative endeavor that you're working on, that can actually help you work through this. Right. So it's always going to be, I think, natural for us to think like, because it's in our head, we think it's like worse, right? Like how there's something wrong with me. Like you're going to think it's going to feel so much worse than what you think other people are going through. But people have gone through this. It's not unique to you. And there's like so many resources out there. If you just take the time to figure out how your, you know, not how your mind works, but how you can kind of work through these things that everyone struggles with.
I love that story because that is so the thing that would go through my head, especially at my age. It's just like, oh, I can't be dealing with this.
Yeah.
No.
Totally.
Not that I need an excuse to not turn up to places. Anyway, my social awkwardness aside. But you're right. And I suppose one of the biggest things that I thought of was I don't want to regret it. And I think that's what gave me a kick, right? Because things had been in my mind for, like 4 or 5 years or something. And you watch people every year go out and do it. And every year you're like, oh, this is blah, blah, blah. And every year there's someone new and you're like, what am I doing? Like, if this is something I want, stop sitting here and like wishing for it.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, there's never going to be a perfect moment. Like, now we're in a global pandemic, so I could have told myself, like, oh yeah, 2020 is going to be the year that's going to like change everything. And now we're, it's like if it's not a global pandemic, it's something else. There's always going to be something that, we're not all the circumstances are ideal. But I don't think that's a reason to not create something that only you can create. And it is going to take friction. It is going to take, energy to create something from nothing. So like, even if the circumstances were perfect, you're still creating something that didn't exist. So it's always going to be, hard. There's always going to be some like exertion of effort, obviously. But if there's a way that we can be passionate about it, be excited about it, where if you have to make a video, you're not like, oh my God, I have to make a video, but you're like, yes, I have to make a video. Like, what can we do to flip it so you're like more excited about it?
Yeah, it's that whole like I get to make a video, not I have to make a video, right? Yeah. No, totally. Okay, this hour has absolutely flown by. Guys, this is just like, wow, this has been awesome. Right, I'm just going to really quickly scan through the comments because I'm sorry I haven't been keeping an eye on them properly. Just I can't multitask. One day I will get the hang of it. I'm just going to double check there weren't any questions in here.
Hello, everybody who's here.
Yes. Thank you for coming. This makes me feel happy. I mean, I know you're all here for Heather, but that's not the point. I'm going to pretend. And
you guys, if you are new here, you have to check out the other episodes because it's such a cool, like I said, I mean, it's so cool that you're doing this. And, the fact that you're not holding yourself back. I mean, even I'm doing that. Like, oh, I don't know if I'm ready, you're just going for it. And that's awesome.
I appreciate that. And I will try not to blush on screen, but that's not going to happen. So anyway, awesome. I don't think I missed anything. So Heather, where can people find you and your wonderful wisdom?
Yeah, so my vlog channel is on YouTube. It's called Heather Just Create. And then my tutorial channel where I make videos about how to make videos, it's at Heather Ramirez. So.
Guys, just on that tutorial channel, not that I'm saying the other one isn't great, but that tutorial channel is amazing. And I learned so much stuff off that channel and it's so well done. Absolutely check it out.
Thanks.
All sorts of stuff. Yes, it's awesome. Amazing. Eva, you also have some streams. You have some live streaming that you do.
Yeah, actually, Tom and I, my husband, we do a live stream podcast on Thursdays at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And it's called The Couples Table, where we just talk about life as a married couple. We actually met on YouTube. Crazy story that you should have both of us on the podcast and we'll talk about it.
That's a great idea. Yes, 100%. You can't back away now.
But yeah, so that's our live stream show. And then, I just vlog like whenever I have something vlog worthy.
Amazing. Okay, Heather, thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me.
No worries. This has been awesome. Guys, thank you to everyone who joined. And I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. This has been wonderful. I'll be back same time, same place next week. Otherwise, thank you and have a good day, evening, afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Bye, guys.
Bye.